don't have an hour and a half. What I'm going to go through first is the 6 steps of handling a main motion. I'll give you the 6 steps and then I'll go back and go through them one by one. So the 6 steps are: a member makes a motion by saying, I move that. Not I would like to, but I move that. Another member seconds the motion. The presiding officer, be the chair or whomever, places it before the meeting. It places the motion before the meeting. After that, debate takes place. Those in favor and those opposed. After that, a vote. That's step number 5. Number 6, the presiding officer presents the results. Now for the details. No change. First one, a member makes a motion, but the member must have recognition of whoever is here presiding. And there can't be any other business on the floor. It must be free and clear. Another member seconds the motion. It doesn't necessarily mean that the member agrees with the motion, but only that the member thinks that it should be discussed. And as Roberts has moved forward, the member's name does not have to be recorded, but you do need a second. And that, of course, is up to any particular organization. What is their practice? They require the member's name to be recorded. And when the motion is moved, properly moved and seconded, it gets recorded in the minutes. Presiding officer places the motion before the group by restating the motion. Now, sometimes motions can not exactly grammatically correct, and they need a little bit of clarification. So that's the reason. And in a room like this, it doesn't matter, right? You can hear whoever makes the motion, but if it's a large room with a microphone, a lot of noise, and clatter, you need to restate the motion so everybody knows what they're discussing. After the motion's been stated, it becomes the property of the assembly. So no one can say, oh, I'd like to withdraw the motion. No, you cannot, unless you have the consent of the meeting. It is the property of the assembly. Now, there is a practice called a friendly amendment. There's no such thing. A friendly amendment is where the mover of the motion decides he doesn't like the way the motion was worded and decides he's going to change it. Amendments require seconders. There's all kinds of procedures on how you handle it. It's not proper procedure. So if you're ever in the chair and somebody says, I'd like to make a friendly amendment, you can say, no, you're out of order. And you have that authority as a chair. If something needs to be changed in a motion, since the property of the meeting, then you call for a vote, defeat the motion, reword it, and then present it properly. That's the way to do it, how to handle it properly. With a motion, the mover is usually the first person to speak to the motion. And then it just goes, the chair should be discriminate enough to decide who's in favor and who's against, and you get a balanced debate. And that's the way it proceeds. Now, if the mover speaks again to the motion, that closes debate. And you must, as the chair, call for the vote. Members debate the motion. And as I stated, you should get both sides of the story. No one is entitled to the floor for a second time as long as other members who have not spoken want the floor. Now, one thing I neglected at the beginning here is that with parliamentary procedure or any parliamentary procedure, the majority rules, but the minority has a right to be heard. That is democracy. Next, after the debate, after the members have debated the motion, as a chair, you can kind of figure out that members are pretty well exhausted all their points and things are going around in circles. And sitting in the chair or presiding as the chair, you want to make sure that everything is germane and there's no repetition to speaking to the motion. Then you can say to the meeting, are you ready to vote? And quite often you will hear, question, 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 question. You can ignore it. It is not a motion. It is a motion, but that's next. So you can ignore anyone saying question, 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 because they want to move to the vote. But if there's still discussion going on, you as chair can ignore it completely. That's totally within your rights. You put the motion to the vote, you may have to repeat it again to make sure that everybody knows what they're voting on. And you ask, are you ready for the question? And if there have been no amendments, and that's next week, you will state the motion and ask all those in favor, all those opposed. And even if it appears that the vote is unanimous in favor, you still ask if there's any opposed. And I can relate a particular situation that I was involved in when I was a union member with SGU and attending an annual convention. There was something that I objected to. There was a significant, well, most of the assemblage voted in favor. And when the chair said, anyone opposed, I stuck up my hand. Now, of course, the vote passed, but it didn't pass unanimously. So as a chair, you must ask for anyone opposed. And there's another little thing I can tell you. Anyone can change their vote at any time. Even if you voted in favor, you can say, no, well, consider yourself, of course, you're not going to talk to the meeting. I'm opposed to that, and stick up your hand. That's perfectly within your rights in a democratic society, to vote your conscience as you please. And the last step, that was step 5, the presiding officer announces the result of the vote, always indicating the number in favor and the number opposed. Now, in a large meeting, you can have standing vote, kind of, unless you have somebody who's a scrutineer and voting hands, and stick their hands up, it's kind of hard. So maybe you will get a standing vote. You count those in favor, and if there's any opposed, because you want to reflect the results. And you want to be able to say, you know, the motion passes, and by how much, if it's because some votes require 2/3 majority in order to pass, depending on the motion. Others require, most motions require a simple majority. The presiding officer does not vote unless his or her vote will affect the motion. A tie vote is a lost vote. For secretaries, all motions are recorded, whether they are approved or defeated. All main motions. There are other certain motions that aren't, but all main motions are recorded. So why do we need to know these rules? Everyone should have at least a minimum knowledge of parliamentary procedure, because you won't always be sitting in a chair, but you may be in a meeting, and you should know whether your rights are being respected or not. If you do not know some of these rules, then somebody can run roughshod over you and have their own way of doing things. And I've seen it happen. So take the opportunity to know these rules. Another thing for the secretary, they only need to record motions. You do not have to record discussion or how a motion is arrived at. Yes, Colin, we don't have to record discussion. There are exceptions. For instance, as a credit union that I'm a member of, our regulator wants to know what kind of discussion went on and how decisions are arrived at. So if you have a governing body, in which case for credit unions, it's Credit Guarantee Corporation, and they want to know, then you write down the discussion. But in the cases of most meetings like Toastmasters or other club meetings, that sort of thing, no, you don't have to write down discussion, which makes it much, much easier for secretaries who are all volunteers and probably don't have shorthand, which would make things easier for them. But how many people have shorthand? I mean, that's kind of like ancient technology. So, going through the 6 steps again. A member makes a motion, is recognized by the chair. Another member seconds a motion. Their name does not have to be recorded. The presiding officer places and repeats the motion before the meeting, at which time it becomes the property of the meeting, not the mover and not the seconder. The motion is debated for and against. After the conclusion of the debate, the motion is voted on. All those in favor, all those against. At the conclusion of the vote, the result is announced by the chair of the meeting. Wow, I did it in 15 minutes. I'm surprised. Questions? Yes, Paul.
What type of vote, like what type of scenario would require a motion to have 2/3 vote? Like what type of
Changes in bylaws. That's a good example.
Okay.
Other things, if there's something that affects the privileges of the members, for instance, a limiting debate, a motion that requires a 2/3 vote. The idea is that a majority of members agree with the motion, not a minority. well, it wouldn't be a minority, but a significant number of members agree. Yeah, Lisa,
You talked about main motions versus other types of motions. What?
what other types of motions?
Yes.
Okay, and an example of other types of motions would be an amendment. But in order to have an amendment, you must have a main motion. There's subsidiary motions. An amendment is a subsidiary motion because they're subsidiary motions because they need a main motion to hang on to. But it's handled exactly the same. Somebody makes an amendment to the motion, a mover and a seconder, it's debated, and the chair makes, so tells the meeting what it is, and you go through exactly the same steps. Other question?
Yeah,
Yes, Lynn?
yes. I would like you to discuss more what that means. A tie vote is a lost vote.
Simple. You have, well, let's take a motion that has 6 votes in favor and 6 votes opposed. That's a tie vote. Motion is lost. It could be overcome if the chair decides to cast a vote, but usually that isn't done because that, that can cause problems within a meeting if you do that.
Well, what does that mean? So there's no vote,
Well, there is a vote, but the vote it's the same thing as a vote being defeated. So it's
defeated.
still,
Okay, so that means no, what's the word I'm looking for? That
Not carried.
no
Well,
answer. There's
well,
no
now-
answer for what they want.
yeah, well, let's take a silly example. A motion that the secretary has to buy pizzas for the whole club. And it's a tie vote, so it's defeated, so you don't have to buy pizzas for the whole club.
Okay, so there was 6 people that said yes and 6 people that said no. So basically it's a no. So the no wins.
No. Well, I suppose you could say that, but there's no decision made.
So do you
There's
then
no
debate
decision.
it and see if people change their votes?
There's a motion for that,
Well, yeah.
but that's a subsidiary motion, which I don't really want to get into subsidiary motions because I could talk about subsidiary motions and we'll need more than 5 minutes.
Okay, all right.
In a situation like that, John, can you reword the motion?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, and then vote.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, reword it and then present it again, but you go through the same steps.
Yeah, it would be a new motion.
It would be a new motion.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the point of
Then
having a non-unanimous vote?
What's the point of not having a
Of having a non-unanimous vote? Like, is there a
Well, it
point?
could be, well, in my case the example that I gave, it was for political reasons. I didn't agree with the union and I didn't agree with the majority. And that's the only way to get the point across.
And then it's recorded that there was one.
Exactly.
It may have been defeated, but still,
Well, in that case, it was
it was not
probably
unanimous.
100 people, 150 people in favor and 1 against. Sometimes we'll return control to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, John. Well, that went really fast. I thought 15 minutes would be a long one.